Hello, Deanna with Divine Destiny. It is December 11th, one day before the full moon in Gemini. That is an air sign. I am coming on today to share. There's a lot of us feeling the pressure that is going on, and even if you can't put your finger on it, I just ask you to have an open heart and really listen and integrate my message today through communication to face your fears. And that is my main purpose, is to leave you feeling more encouraged than you did when you came in and tuned in to listen. If you're new today, if this resonates with your soul, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. I am an awakened empath. I am not an astrologer. I do feel and intuit when there's astrology and the impact of that going on. As above, so below. As within, so without. I've became in tune with my feels and my sensitivity to allow this to be my gift. And that's what the purpose of my channel is, to get you wounded healers to face your fears, to face your wounds, to step into your authenticity and be the alchemist and change the trajectory of not only your life, but the impact that that will have on everybody else. It is my wholehearted belief in my heart center that us deep feelers are the very ones with the compassionate hearts that can change the trajectory of what's going on in the human race on this planet. And so with no further ado, there's so much things going on in the cosmos. As I said, I'm not an astrologer, but I love astrology. I'm sensitive to the energy of it, and I've used that gift through my heart space to tune in and get a feel. With that being said, just before this full moon in Gemini, there's a lot of things going on. I'm just going to highlight and cover a few things. Chiron in Aries is one that I started my channel just this year. And Chiron in Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer, the great healer. It's not even considered a planet. But what it represents is what means in the most for all of us healers, wounded healers rising. That has been in the sign of Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac. I've covered that often, but I'm going to continue to do that because it's wanting us to step into that heart space, feel all of our feels, face our fears, sit with our wounds, not ignore our wounds, and really step into that feeling. The heart is going to be the true compass with this Christ consciousness that we're wanting to head into, going into the age of Aquarius. So today, Sun in Sagittarius, Moon in Gemini. That's what a full moon is. They're on the opposite side of the wheel. And that sun is illuminating, causing, let me see if I can do this, causing the moon to be highlighted and illuminated. So we got the moon here, sun here, straight across. There's a lot of other things going on. Mars is still in Scorpio. Mars is an action planet. Mars is known as the Lord of Wars, which is not to be looked at as a bad thing, but with it in the deep sign of Scorpio still, it's feeling like a lot of people, all of this is going to be Venus conjunct Saturn. Venus, the planet of love, a very feminine, is in a conjunct, meaning right next to Saturn and Pluto. So it's got a lot of people feeling today pressure. And for me, where I am, particularly on my own path right at the moment, it feels like the crowning phase of giving birth. We got this Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. We got a Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is now moved into Capricorn. So it's wanting us to take that spiritual expansion. You know, if you've been on your path of healing and connecting with the expansive heart, let's just usually use this as symbolic. This is how it always is felt within me. That's how I realized I was in tune with not only my own energy, but also the planet, Mother Gaia, and the cosmos, because we are all creation. We are all sparks of God. And so Jupiter is wanting us to expand in that earthy sign of Capricorn, being rooted in that. The Gemini is an air sign, so that's a lot about If you're in harmony, this is a beautiful time for you to gain clarity and inner vision. Out of harmony, this could be causing you to be overthinking right now. It's super important. And as I've started my channel just this year, I've realized, leaving the Pisces age, going into Aquarius, that it's wanting us to all go back into our heart space and get out of these egoic minds. Not to say it don't have its place, but a lot of humans have been living out of this ego-based life. It's not working anymore for this planet. All you have the intuitive ability right within your heart to discern yourself. When you're around people, you can feel whether they're speaking out of their heart space of love, or if they're in this lack, competition, talking about others. And that's huge with this right now, because we have so much going on. The planet of Chiron, excuse me, I listen to Chiron channel, and I also love the planet Chiron, so I get tongue-tied sometimes. Excuse me for that. Chiron's going direct at the very same time as this full moon. And so to me, symbolically, that's huge for all of us wounded healers. It's wanting us to, it's just an illusion that the planet even, or asteroid, goes backwards, either, whatever. It's more about the feels of it, but when it starts going direct again, it's more so like forward motion for all of us. As above, so below. So it's going to be symbolic for you. If you're feeling this crowning and this pressure today, it is definitely not the time to be reacting out of ego. It is putting us into this Christ consciousness heart space, and it's really wanting us to be the observer, because a lot of us that have already been on this journey of facing our fears are now seeing the fruition of getting into that heart space. And the duty of us light workers, sensitives, is to be the observer of everything that's going on, and not become it and not react to it. And so that pressure that people could be feeling, if you're sensitive, all through this week really, that I've personally felt it, is this push-pull of, you know, you're on a new path, but you don't have direction yet. And that's the most beautiful, perfect time to surrender to spirit in your heart space and go, I don't know my way. I trust the process. I trust myself as a sovereign being, because I'm in that heart space. Don't get into those arguments between your mind. That Mercury ruled mind. What is Mercury? Mercury is in Sagittarius. Not really comfortable there. It's at 3 degrees currently as I'm doing this video on 12/11. We're already in this full moon energy. I've been outside and already seen it, as cold and brisk as it is where I am. It is too amazing, guys. I really want everybody to pause. Remember that everybody's feeling this pressure, whether they're awake or not. So it's a time to be in your heart space and be in that observer position, and not be reacting to all of the monkey mind madness that's probably being projected on out there, in there. Don't project on yourself neither. What else is something I wanted to highlight? That Saturn, Pluto, Venus being conjunct, guys. That's all in Capricorn, I do believe now. Yes, they are. Saturn, Capricorn, Pluto. That is something where Venus being the planet of love, but it's not just representing that. It's really the feminine, and it's wanting us to, the breaking down of structures with Capricorn, Saturn, Pluto is all through 2020. The majority of it, I believe. This isn't something that's going to be just done with overnight. What my mission is to share with all you wounded healers, right? Very representative of Chiron and Aries, the wounded healers rising. It's been pushing us into our heart spaces, if you've allowed it. That's where everybody needs to go in order to change, you know, the planet. And so I think, awake or asleep, people realize that there's things that need healed here. It always starts with self, always. And so the only answers that you're going to get is within yourself, but it is not in this mind. that has its place, but this is the first compass. And when you're fighting it and you're feeling this push and pull that you may be feeling today, it can come up as anxiety. We're facing all these wounds, and for any of you that are not faced your childhood wounds, there's always usually a core wounds. You carry it through your whole life cycle with all relations that you come in contact with, which are never coincidental. If you're being treated in a way that's not of love, you need to look at yourself and go, why have I tolerated this for so long? Because the wounded healers rising, the wounded healers in general, were always people pleasers. We got to get out of the mindset now. Everybody's on the path wherever they're at. I know when I first woke up, it was like this, oh my God, I felt like I was punked in my life because I wasn't taught to love thyself first. And this, all in the cosmos, is supporting every one of us to do that. I firmly believe that the North Node in Cancer, which is representative of family, it's time to stop putting up with things that are not of love. Keep your own ego in check. Don't dabble with other people's egos. And all you have to do as an empath is feel that. You know when somebody's speaking out of love or speaking out of that ego. And that doesn't mean to be a pushover, and that does not mean enabling. You stand firmly rooted in your heart space, knowing who you are as a sovereign being, healthy boundaries, respect yourself, and increase your self-worth. Then you'll be in the vibration and draw in the relations of soul family. And that's where I'm at now, is witnessing the fruits of the hard labor and the hard wounds that I face every day still. I've lost a child in the flesh. I've said goodbye to the whole entire blood family that was very karmic. And I did all of this out of the heart-centered space, out of love, from that observer position. If it's not in the best interest of you and it's not of love, get on this path, because astrologically, I know where we're going. I see where we're going, into this Christ consciousness. And in order to do that, you have to face your fears, face your wounds, and be very present with healing them. So keep doing it as hard as it is, and you're going to go through emotions of anger, anxiety, cry when you need to cry. But make sure after you face those things that you rise and continue to be in service to yourself and others. Let's see, what else do I want to share today? At least the sun is in Sagittarius still, so that gives any of us that might be feeling that anxiety or that depression a little bit of fire and a little bit of passion within you. So that's kind of nice and a supportive thing. Be careful that your ego, being fire, let's just say symbolically, is not being, with the moon in Gemini being an air sign, don't allow that air. See what happens when too much air gets on a fire, it gets out of control. So that's where the observer position is super beneficial for you as a light worker, and any of us, is to keep that in check, because air and fire, and you get too hot-headed. And I think that's just another beautiful symbolic way of realizing that we got to be in them heart spaces and correct yourself. Correct yourself if you react. Correct yourself, and if it's impacted somebody else. Vocalize that. You know, Mercury rules Gemini. That's communications and outward communications. And that's a huge thing that we're feeling with this rebirth and death. With Mars in Scorpio still, that is the death and the rebirth. And feeling that pressure of like the crowning position. It's important to take deep breaths and gain your clarity with that balance of your thoughts and your heart, and always allowing soul to be your rudder on your vessel. You can't go wrong when you go in the truth, because that is the heart space. and that will always be the way. What else do I want to share? I think I'm going to save that for my Facebook Live. If you're new today, this uplifts you. I'm going to close this out with doing an oracle for all of us. Continue to rise, wounded healers, because I believe those that are in that compassionate heart are the ones that can change the energy of this planet. And as we all know, awake or asleep, we have to do something, because what's been happening for the last God knows how many years is not really in justice and in balance for all of life, whether it be humans and animals, this planet itself. It's time to clean it all up and bring that everything into the heart space for healing. So I encourage you to face the wounds that you have. Everybody has them. Find out what the key is to whatever your wounds have been. A lot of us have dealt with abandonment issues, and this initially comes from thinking that we separated from source. That's the original abandonment wound. And you may have had karmic family that you've needed to work through these things with this lifetime. Ignoring it and enabling it is not highly suggested going forward. We have to have healthy foundations in order to move forward into this. I call it Christ consciousness, but really it is in your heart space. So we're going to do a Moonology oracle for this current energy on 12/11, just pre-full moon in Gemini, which is an air sign. I call upon the divine Christed white light to fill me up. Only love be allowed here, and allow me to be the perfect communicator and the clarity to share with others. You and your loved ones are safe, and it is the new moon in Cancer. Wow, that one just flipped right out. We'll stop right there. All right, guys, here we go. This is the messages for the full moon in Gemini. Currently, it's 12/11, so we're going with right now. These are always going to be a timeless message. You and your loved ones are safe. So new moon in Cancer, very, very beautiful card. I love the purple indigo. That always reminds me of our crown chakra, third eye connection, seeing with more than our two eyes and using all of our senses once we're tapped in. New moon in Cancer to me is very symbolic of, we have the north node of the moon in Cancer right now. It is asking us to restructure our family units going forward, and I think that's very huge for the age of a Pisces coming in. 2020 is going to be a whole new energy that could be also being felt within you of, you know, you need new direction and you don't know where to begin. I just highly recommend surrendering into your heart space, because the answers will come to you. It's time for action. New moon in Aries. Aries is, Mars is the ruling planet of Aries, and that is, what did I just say with the astrology? Mars in Scorpio. Very deep. It's asking us to take action. Red, sacral, so that's also can be your passions. Aries is that first sign of the zodiac, which is self, and that's also very symbolic with the Chiron in Aries, is asking us wounded healers to face our fears, wounds, release them, and step into our heart space of authenticity. It's time to take action. If not now, when? And if not who, then, you know, you have to do it yourself. Self accountability is where it's at. In order to change a new perspective within you, you have to put a new set of glasses on and look at things differently. So I think that's beautiful. A time for healing. It's time for you to face those fears. It's time to face your wounds. Allow them to be a gift to you, so that we can all rise in this. Start sharing with others so that they don't feel so alone on their journey. I'm going to go over the recap of these card messages one more time. Be gentle with yourself. I'm feeling even this push-pull. It's best to be in your heart space and be the observer of not only yourself but others. And that doesn't mean allowing people to egoically run over top of you as a sensitive being. You and your loved ones are safe. Get that connection going with God, Creator, Source. Be open to all of your senses, because the new structure with the North Node in Cancer is wanting us all to step into that and restructure our family units symbolically, right, of love. And I believe that's soul connections for me and soul tribe, and they're coming. It's time to take action. Mars in Scorpio still, which is a very hard aspect. We can't keep fence sitting. I've been saying that probably since the beginning of this year when I started my channel, and it's like, wow, I'm in it now. I've felt this all coming and brewing. 2019, last full moon, is an end of a decade. It's time to get rid of old things and step into something new. It's time for action. Don't allow it to become a war within you, because Mars is also representative of that masculine and that warring. Surrender all of that, because the time for healing is now. And I wouldn't want anybody to be pushed into it. So I hope this resonates with you today. Thank you to my continued listeners. I appreciate your support so very much. So glad and thankful for the soul tribe that I'm just seeing the fruits of healing my own wounds and facing my fears. If you haven't yet done that, I hope this channel encourages you to face your fears and your wounds. Get into that heart space after you've done your work and just be the observer of whatever goes on, because that's when you find the true answers, your true guidance, and your soul's always speaking to you. I send this to you guys with so much love, and happy full moon in Gemini. Namaste.